Sri Gurupyo Namaha children. Welcome to this online session. We are going to see a lesson from business studies, business trade and commerce, the remaining part of the lesson. Already we have learned about the term business and concept of business, characteristics of business, how the economic activities are classified into. Okay, so in this session we are going to see how the economic activities are divided into. They are divided into business, profession and employment. Already we have learned about what is business. It is nothing but an economic activity. What is an economic activity? By doing such an economic activity, we are able to get our livelihood. We are able to earn some monetary benefit by doing such economic activity. So business should be an economic activity involving production, and there should be a sale of goods and services with a motive of earning profit, and by doing all these activities that has to satisfy the human needs and wants. And when you move on to the profession is a business activity and it requires some special knowledge and skill. So who are called professionals? The doctors, engineers, lawyers, auditors, they are called professionals. Individuals engaged in professions are known as professionals. And they have to get a certificate. That is, the doctors have to get a certificate from Medical Council of India. That is a professional body which gives some guidelines to the doctors. They have to follow the guidelines which are prescribed in the Medical Council of India. Likewise, lawyers have to follow the guidelines which are prescribed in the Bar Council of India. Okay. And what is employment? Employment means it is an occupation in which people work for others. People, they are engaged in some work under somebody. They are called employees. So the people who are employed under someone, under some organization, under some firm, under some companies, they are called employees. So the occupation in which people work for others and get remuneration, that is, get some return for that, get some monetary benefit for this. It can be in the name of salary or wages. And so this economic activities can be divided into business, profession and employment. Okay. So when you compare this business, profession and employment, we get the following points. First, if you take the mode of establishment, if you take the business, the entrepreneur's decision and other legal formalities if necessary. Once the entrepreneur has the decision, that is the idea of a business, and if he has capital in his hand, he can simply start the business after completing some legal formalities. In case of profession, membership of a professional body and certificate of practice is necessary. Suppose if he is a doctor, he has to get the certificate from the Medical Council of India. That is a professional body, which is the Medical Council of India. He has to get a membership or a certificate that he has completed his course. And when you move on to employment, appointment letter and service agreement is enough. That is, if an employee is employed or if he is hired by any firm, it has to give some letter of agreement for his work. That is enough under the case of employment. Then you take nature of work, provision of goods and services to the public. What is the business does here? That is under any business, goods will be produced and sold to the consumers, or services will be provided to the public. That is done in the case of business. That is the nature of work in the business. Provision of goods. After producing, it will be provided to the public. Under profession, rendering of personalized or expert service. If he is a doctor, he will render the medical services to the patient. If he is a lawyer, he will render his legal services to the clients, and so on. In case of employment, performing work as per service contract. So, When he joins his work, he will be given a service agreement. That is, he has to perform the necessary services which are required by the firm. It will be written in an agreement or a contract will be provided to the employer to the employee, and it will be between the employer and the employee. The contract or rules of service will be between the employer and the employee. And when you move on to the qualification, no minimum qualification is necessary to start up a business. But in case of profession, the professional has to get the certificate from the professional body. It is a must in case of profession. A doctor has to get a certificate. A lawyer has to get a certificate from the specific professional body, prescribed professional body. It is a must in case of profession. Then only they can do their profession as the professionals. Then only they can provide the services to the customers. In case of employment, qualification and training as prescribed by the employer. So the employer will prescribe the qualification necessary for that particular job. He may be a graduate or an undergraduate or a postgraduate and so on. It requires that is it is up to the requirement of the job, nature of the job, and then reward or return. For example, when you take the business, the motive of the business is to earn profit. Under profession, the reward will be in the form of professional fee. The patients will be paying their fees to the doctors, or the client will be paying the fees to the lawyers, and so on. So, the fees collected by the professionals will be the reward for their service rendered. In case of employment, the employee will be paid either in the form of salary or in the form of wages for the work done by him. Capital investment. Capital investment depends upon the size of the business. If it is a very small size business, the capital requirement will be less. If it is a large scale business, capital requirement will be more. In case of profession, limited capital needed for establishment. That is, if a doctor wants to practice means he has to set up a clinic and he has to set up some medical equipments and some furnitures. So he needs limited capital to start his business. But in case of employment, no capital required at all because the employee is going to work under someone. He need not invest any capital for the concern which is going to concern under which he is going to work. Risk. Profits are uncertain and irregular. Risk is present in every business. You cannot estimate the profit. That is, it is uncertain. You may get the profit or you may not get the profit. You cannot calculate the business in advance. Calculate the profit in advance. In case of profession, it is generally regular, isn't it? The patients will be paying their fees to the doctors and the clients will be paying to the fees to their lawyers. But sometimes they may fail to pay the fees also. Some risk is there in case of profession. But generally, fees payment will be regular in case of profession. Employment. The risk, I'm sorry. Yes, the risk is no risk at all. There is risk is very less or no risk because the employee will be paid fixed salary or fixed wages every month or every week or every 15 days. He will be paid according to his work done. Transfer of interest. Transfer possible with some formalities. That is, transfer of business is possible in case of business. One business entity can be that is the business can be transferred to some other. It is possible in case of business, along with some formalities, by undergoing some formalities. But it is not possible. A professional cannot transfer his degree to some other person, isn't it? He cannot transfer his expertise or he cannot transfer his knowledge or skill to some other person. So it is not possible in case of profession. Transfer of interest is not possible in case of employment also. No employee can transfer his work to some other person, isn't it? So it is not possible in the employment. So transfer of interest is possible with some formalities in business, not possible in profession. and it is not possible in employment also. And code of conduct. No code of conduct is prescribed in business, but professional code of conduct is to be followed when you are a professional, and norms of behavior laid down by the employer ought to be followed. So, when an employee works in an organization, he has to follow the rules and regulations provided by the employer. And we can say the shops, factories, or business as an example, and legal service, medical service, and chartered accountancy for profession. Employees working in banks, insurance companies, and government departments can be taken as an example for employment. So we have understood what is business, what is profession, and what is employment clearly now. And when you move on to the classification of business activities, so we have read about business, profession, and employment. Again, the business is divided into industry and commerce. When you say industry, what comes to our mind? Generally, some machines and some special knowledge which is put into operate the machines. Some specialized expertise which are needed to work with the machines. So it refers to the economic activities which are connected with the conversion of resources into useful good. So we are converting the resources into finished products in the industries. For example, you can take cotton textile industry, electronic goods industry, and so on. And it is not that industries alone are included in the form of industry. Certain services like banking and insurance are also referred to as industry. And these include not only production of goods and services, but also breeding and raising of animals also come under the category of industry. And when you move on to commerce, it includes trade and auxiliaries to trade. Trade means buying and selling of goods, or it refers to sale, transfer, or exchange of goods. And auxiliaries to trade, these activities help or support the trade. That is, it supports the trade to happen. Okay, that is activities meant for assisting the trade. This commerce we will study in a separate chapter. We will follow the industry now. Again, this industry is classified into primary industries and secondary industries. What are primary industries? Extraction and production of natural resources and reproduction and development of living organisms, plants, etc. So we are extracting the natural resources from the earth and developing some living organisms, plants, etc. This is called the primary industries. So under primary industries, again it is divided into extractive and genetic industries. Extract means you are drawing the products from natural resources. It includes farming, mining, lumbering, hunting, and fishing operations come under extractive industries. These are called naturally from the earth or from the water. Genetic industries, these are engaged in breeding plants and animals for their use in further reproduction. You can take the example of cattle breeding farms and poultry farms. See, you can see the example of extractive industries, that is mining industry. Um, Coal is extracted from the earth, and secondary industries process the materials which have already been extracted at the primary level. It is nothing but the materials which are extracted from the primary industries are processed here. For example, iron ore is extracted from the primary industries. This iron ore is made into steel and then it is processed into steel products which we get at the final consumption. So process the materials which have already been extracted at the primary level or being processed in the secondary industries. Finally, we get the finished products for our consumption. And the secondary industries are again classified into manufacturing industries and construction industries. What are manufacturing industries? From the name itself, we can understand all the goods are manufactured in the manufacturing industries. The goods which we use in our day to day life, which we consume in our day to day life, are manufactured in the manufacturing industries. So these industries are engaged in producing goods through processing of raw materials. For example, cotton textile industry. Cotton is processed and being made as cloth. So textile industry, we can take an example of manufacturing industries. So they bring out diverse finished products, various finished products that we consume in our day-to-day life through the conversion of raw materials in their manufacturing operations. Then this manufacturing industries are again classified into analytical, synthetical, processing and assembling industry. What is this analytical industry? That is, analyzes and separates different elements from the same material. If you take the oil refinery industry, crude oil is transformed into, that is, it is separated into petrol, diesel, and liquefied petroleum gas, that is the LPG, and so on. So this comes under analytical industry. You can take the oil refinery industry as an example. Synthetical industry means it combines various ingredients into a new product. For example, if you take a manufacturing of cement, various ingredients are combined to produce cement. And when you take the processing industry, it involves successive stages. Processing involves successive various stages to get the finished product. For example, when you take the sugar industries, the sugar cane is being processed in various stages. Finally, we get the finished product as sugar. And when you take the assembling industry, another division of manufacturing industry, it is assembling industry. The parts are assembled. It assembles different component parts to make a new product. For example, parts of the car are assembled and a new car is made. Same way, various parts of the television set is assembled in the assembling industry. And then, when you move on to the construction industries, from the name itself, you can easily say these are engaged in the construction of buildings, dams, bridges, roads, as well as tunnels. So these industries require engineering and architectural skills to complete the constructional activities. So engineering and architectural skills are an important part in these constructional industries. And what is tertiary industries? Tertiary industries you have studied in your previous classes in your social science subject. It is concerned with providing supportive services to primary and secondary industries. For example, when you take the primary industry, that mining, when you take the mining, iron ore is extracted from the mining industries and it has to be transported to the secondary industries for further process, isn't it? So the transport service is very essential to transport the iron ore from the mining area, from the mine to the industries. So their transport plays a very important role. And when if you take banking, banking provides loans to various industries. And insurance is very relevant when the goods are in transit, it may meet an accident or it may get fire accidents or theft. To cover all these things, insurance is very, very helpful. And the goods which are produced have to be stored in some place, isn't it? Here, warehousing plays an important role. So, goods are stored in the warehousing and it has to be communicated. What is produced has to be communicated to the consumers, isn't it? So here communication plays an important role. Packaging and advertising, all these are tertiary industries which support the primary industries as well as the secondary industries. So we have completed this session, children. What we have learned in this session, what is the classification of economic activities, business, profession and employment, and how the business activities can be classified. All those things we have learned in this lesson, children. We will meet in the next class. Thank you. To receive our online lessons, please press the subscribe button and you will receive the latest updates. Thank you.